That morning, no one expected a single act of defiance to change military history. What began as routine training became a moment every soldier on base would remember, and one that would test the difference between following orders and doing what's right. Sergeant Elena Vasquez stood at attention in the pre-dawn chill of Fort Harlan's K-9 training grounds, her breath visible in the crisp air. The base sprawled across the arid plains of New Mexico, where the desert met the horizon in a haze of dust and distant mountains. Uniforms pressed sharp against the wind, boots aligned in perfect rows on the packed earth. The handlers, 10 in total from the 101st Military Working Dog Unit, formed up as Major Harlan Reed's voice cut through the quiet like a blade. "At ease," Reed said, his baritone steady, eyes scanning the line. He was a broad-shouldered veteran, silver threading his close-cropped hair, his fatigues bearing the faint scars of deployments long past. "Today, we run scent trails and perimeter sweeps. Precision matters. These dogs aren't just tools, they're extensions of the chain. Trust them, and they'll trust you back." Eleanor nodded, her hand resting lightly on the harness of her partner, Rex. At 5 years old, the Belgian Malinois was a compact bundle of muscle and instinct, his black and tan coat gleaming under the floodlights. They'd been paired for 3 years, through the relentless cycle of patrols, certifications, and quiet nights in the barracks, where Rex's steady breathing was the only sound that eased her mind. She felt his warmth against her leg, a silent affirmation. In the world of ranks and routines, Rex was her constant. No questions, no judgments, just unwavering loyalty. The unit moved out in formation, footsteps echoing in unison as they crossed the gravel path to the mock village setup. Chain-link fences rattled softly in the breeze, and the scent of creosote bushes mingled with the metallic tang of dog harnesses. Elena clipped Rex's lead, murmuring a low command, "Heel." He fell in step without hesitation, ears pricked, nose already working the air. Around her, other handlers issued similar cues, short, clipped phrases honed by discipline. Private Torres with his Labrador Max joked quietly about the coffee rations. But Elena stayed focused, her mind on the drill ahead. Major Reed halted the group at the edge of the simulated urban zone, plywood structures mimicking alleyways and compounds, dotted with hidden scent packets. "Vasquez, your lead on the first trail. Simulate a lost asset, civilian extraction, report findings up the chain." "Yes, sir," Elena replied, saluting crisply. She unclipped Rex's lead, signaling him to search. He moved forward with purpose, tail low, sniffing the ground in tight patterns. The other handlers observed, clipboards in hand, noting response times and alerts. This was the rhythm of base life, orders given, executed, reviewed. No room for deviation. Elena's role as a handler demanded that precision. One misstep could cascade through the unit, from training logs to operational readiness reports. As Rex quartered the area, the sun crested the eastern ridge, painting the desert in gold. The air warmed, carrying the faint hum of helicopters warming up on the tarmac a mile away. Elena followed at a measured pace, her radio crackling with status checks from the observers. "Trail 1 clear," she reported into her mic, voice level. Rex paused at a corner structure, pawing the dirt, then sat, his alert for scent detection. She marked the spot, praising him softly. "Good boy." The drill proceeded smoothly until the civilian observers arrived. It was standard protocol. Local families sometimes watched from the perimeter, a nod to community outreach. But today, as the handlers reset for the next run, a disturbance rippled through the chain-link viewing area. A child's wail pierced the morning calm, raw and unfiltered. Eleanor glanced over, her focus fracturing for the first time. A boy, no older than 8, clung to the fence, his small face streaked with tears. Beside him stood a woman, his mother by the look of her anxious grip on his shoulder, whispering urgently. The base security detail, Two MPs in crisp uniforms approached to de-escalate, but the boy's sobs grew louder. "My sister didn't come back," he cried, voice breaking against the wind. "She went to the old trail yesterday, and she's gone." Major Reed strode over, his presence commanding silence from the handlers. "Ma'am, this is a restricted area. What's the issue?" The mother, her eyes red-rimmed, explained in halting tones. Her daughter, Mia, 12 years old, had wandered off the previous afternoon during a family hike on the base's edge, a permitted recreational trail that skirted the training grounds. Dusk had fallen, and Mia hadn't returned. Searches by local rangers had turned up nothing overnight, and with the sun setting again, desperation had brought them here. "We thought, maybe your dogs," she said, glancing at Rex, who had cocked his head at the sound of distress. Reed's jaw tightened, weighing the interruption against protocol. Civilian matters fell under Base Command's Civilian Affairs Office, not the K-9 unit's training schedule. "We'll notify the appropriate channels," he said firmly. "Return to the gate. MPs will escort you." But the boy lunged forward, pressing his face to the fence. "Please, she was crying about something. Said the sunset made shadows funny. Help us." His words hung in the air, a plea that tugged at the edges of Elena's discipline. Rex whined softly at her side, sensing the shift, his nose twitching toward the desert beyond the perimeter. Elena felt the pull, the routine drill versus the raw human need just yards away. Orders were clear: maintain the schedule, report anomalies up the chain. Yet Rex's eyes met hers, dark and expectant, as if he too understood the invisible thread connecting the boy's tears to the fading light. She hesitated, hand tightening on his harness. In that moment, the chain of command felt both unbreakable and impossibly fragile. The major turned back to the unit. "Resume positions. Vasquez, hold Rex." But as the handlers moved, the boy's sob echoed once more, and Rex strained against her grip, ears forward, fixed on the horizon where the sun dipped low, casting long shadows over the footprints only he might see. Elena stood frozen for a beat longer than protocol allowed, her fingers still clenched on Rex's harness. The Belgian Malinois pulled gently, his muscles taut under her palm, nose lifted toward the open expanse beyond the fence. The desert stretched out there, a sea of sagebrush and sun-baked sand, where the training grounds bled into the recreational trails. Major Reed's command hung in the air like radio static, sharp and insistent. But the boy's cry lingered, a fracture in the morning's discipline. "Handlers, form up!" Reed repeated, his voice carrying the weight of routine restored. He shot Elena a glance, brief, assessing, before turning to the MPs. "Escort the civilians to the gate. Notify civilian affairs. We'll log this as a perimeter alert." The mother gathered her son, murmuring comforts as the MPs guided them away. The boy's small hand waved once, a desperate gesture toward Rex, before disappearing behind the chain link. Elena exhaled slowly, forcing her posture back to alignment. She clipped Rex's lead and fell into step with the unit, the gravel crunching under her boots in sync with the others. Private Torres sidled up beside her, his Labrador Max trotting obediently. "Tough break," he muttered, keeping his eyes forward. "Kids and trails. Happens more than you'd think out here." Elena nodded curtly, not trusting her voice. The group reached the mock village again, floodlights casting long shadows as the sun climbed higher. The air warmed, carrying the dry scent of dust and heated metal from the plywood structures. Reed briefed the next drill, a multi-dog perimeter sweep, simulating a breached compound. "Vasquez, you and Rex take the eastern flank. Torres, western. Report alerts immediately, no deviations." "Yes, sir," Elena echoed, her response automatic. She unclipped Rex once more, signaling him to work. He bounded forward, quartering the ground with efficient sweeps, his paws kicking up faint puffs of earth. Elena followed at heel distance, her radio mic clipped to her shoulder. scanning the horizon out of habit. The recreational trailhead lay just beyond the perimeter fence, a simple dirt path winding into the arroyo, marked by weathered signs, warning of flash floods and restricted access during drills. Families used it on weekends, but yesterday's search parties had left boot prints and trampled brush in their wake. As Rex worked the eastern edge, his pace slowed near the fence line. He circled a post, sniffing intently, then sat sharp, alert posture, eyes locked on Elena. She knelt beside him, marking the spot on her notepad, possible residual scent from the overnight search. "Good find," she praised softly, scratching behind his ears. His tail thumped once against the dirt, but he didn't break stare, whining low in his throat. Elena glanced up, following his gaze. The sun angled low now. No, mid-morning, but the light played tricks on the sand, casting deceptive shadows from the creosote bushes. The drill continued, handlers calling out clearances over the radio. "Sector 2 clear. No contacts." Elena reported her alert up the chain, voice steady. "Eastern flank, residual human scent at fence post 7. Likely search team residue." Reed acknowledged from the command post, a portable setup of folding tables and laptops under a camouflage net. "Log it and proceed." But Rex wouldn't proceed. He strained against the invisible boundary, pawing at the fence base where wire met earth. Elena tugged his collar gently. "Easy, boy, heel." He complied, but his whine persisted, a sound she'd heard only in high-stakes ops when explosives hid in plain sight or a hidden threat waited. She scanned the area. Nothing amiss, just the endless ripple of heat haze. Yet the boy's words echoed in her mind, shadows funny at sunset. It was midday now, but perhaps Mia had ventured off trail as the light shifted. Private Torres radioed in from the west. "All clear here, Sarge." Max is antsy, though, picking up coyote, maybe. Laughter crackled over the comms, lightening the tension. Eleanor forced a response. "Copy. Eastern clear." But as she led Rex back to the village center, doubt gnawed at her resolve. Protocol was ironclad. K-9 units didn't divert for civilian searches without base command approval. It could mean paperwork cascades, incident reports, readiness audits, even a formal inquiry if it disrupted training metrics. Her career, solid after 8 years, balanced on such adherence. Rex, too, relied on her cues. Breaking formation could unsettle his training. At the reset point, the unit gathered for debrief. Major Reed paced slowly, clipboard in hand. "Solid work overall. Vasquez, that residual, double-check at post-drill. Could be nothing, but we document everything." His eyes met hers again, probing. "You good?" "Affirmative, sir," she said, saluting. Inside, the chain felt heavier. Lunch rotation called. Mess hall at 1200 hours. But Elena volunteered for gear check, buying time. As the others filed off, she walked Rex to the kennel block, a low concrete structure with chain runs and water bowls. The handler's area smelled of kibble and leather polish, fans whirring overhead to combat the rising heat. She filled his bowl, watching him drink deeply, tongue lapping in steady rhythm. Kneeling beside him, Eleanor ran a hand along his flank. "What is it, partner? You smell something out there." Rex leaned into her touch, eyes alert. She pulled her phone from her pocket, personal devices restricted, but a quick glance at base alerts showed no updates on the missing girl. Civilian affairs would handle it. Coordinate with local PD, maybe deploy MPs for a wider sweep. Not her lane. Yet, as she latched his run, a distant chopper thrummed overhead, rotors slicing the air. Rex's head snapped up, ears perked toward the arroyo. Elena paused at the door, the weight of the morning settling like dust on her shoulders. Obedience had carried her this far, through deployments where orders saved lives even when they chafed. But compassion. That was the unspoken test, the one no manual covered. By 1300 hours, the unit reconvened for afternoon evals. Reed assigned Elena to review footage from the morning cams, a solitary task in the ops shack. The small room hummed with monitors, the glow casting blue light on stacks of logbooks. She fast-forwarded through the drill, pausing at the fence line. There, Rex's alert, clear as day. And in the background, the boy's face pressed to the wire, shadows lengthening even then. Her radio buzzed, base command patching through. "Vasquez, stand by for civilian affairs relay." The voice was crisp, procedural. "Update on the hiker. Girl's name Mia Ruiz. Last seen 1700 yesterday. Rangers expanded search at 0800. No sign. If your dog flagged anything viable, prep for consult." Elena's pulse quickened. Consult meant stepping outside routine, perhaps a controlled off-trail run, if approved. She glanced at Rex through the window. Visible in his run, still watching the horizon. The sun arced toward afternoon, promising those sunset shadows the boy mentioned. Duty pulled one way. Log the alert. Await orders. Conscience the other. Push for the search. Risk the chain's disapproval. She keyed the mic. Understood. Rex's alert was human scent, strong, ready to assist if greenlit. The response came delayed. "Stand by." In the quiet of the shack, Elena sat back, the hum of the AC the only sound. Rex's loyalty mirrored her own internal divide, blind trust until the moment demanded more. Outside, the desert wind whispered through the tents, carrying the faint, elusive trace of what only a dog might follow. The weight stretched like the desert horizon, each tick of the ops shack clock amplifying the hum of the AC unit. Elena stared at the monitor, the frozen frame of Rex's alert replaying in her mind, the dog's unyielding sit, the fence post's shadow stretching toward the arroyo. Her radio lay silent on the desk, a coiled serpent of possibility. Base commands "stand by" echoed protocol. No action without clearance, no risks to unit readiness. But the boy's sob replayed too, raw against the wind, and Rex's whine from the kennel tugged at her like an unseen lead. Finally, the mic crackled. "Vasquez, this is civilian affairs. Major Reed has authorized a limited K9 assist. One handler, one dog, off-trail run along the recreational path. Rangers will meet you at the trailhead in 20. Log everything, time, alerts, findings. This is consult only, no independent ops." "Affirmative," Elena replied, her voice steady despite the surge in her chest. She stood, smoothing her fatigues, the fabric warm from the room's confines. Grabbing her gear bag, harness, water, notepad, she headed out. The sun beat down now, midday heat radiating from the concrete paths, turning the air thick with the scent of sun-warmed gravel and distant mesquite. Handlers milled near the mess hall, trays in hand, but Elena bypassed them, striding to the kennel block. Rex rose as she approached, tail wagging once, eyes locking on hers with that quiet intensity. "Let's work, boy," she murmured, clipping his working harness. "No lead today, just voice and trust." The bond that defined their partnership. He fell in at her heel as they crossed the compound, boots and paws sinking in rhythm. MPs nodded at the gate, waving them through to the trailhead, where a ranger's SUV idled, dust settling from its tires. The ranger, a wiry man named Hale in a green uniform stained with trail dirt, extended a hand. "Sergeant Vasquez, appreciate the assist. We've gridded the main path." "Nothing. But the kid mentioned sunset shadows off to the east arroyo. Your dog's nose might catch what we missed in the dark." Elena nodded, scanning the terrain. The recreational trail snaked through low scrub, flanked by rocky outcrops that caught the light in jagged angles. Yesterday's search had left faint boot impressions in the softer sand, but the wind had begun erasing them. "Rex is trained for human scent. We'll start at last known point." She signaled Rex forward. "Search." He moved out, nose low, weaving through the brush with purposeful efficiency. Hale followed at a respectful distance, radio clipped to his belt, chirping updates to his team. The path climbed gently, the air cooling in the shade of junipers, carrying the earthy tang of damp soil from a recent trickle in the arroyo bed. Elena kept pace, eyes on Rex, noting his patterns, the quick sniffs at rock bases, the pause where a boot scuff marred the dirt. "He's picking up multiples," she reported to Hale. "Search parties likely, but he's not alerting." They crested a rise, the arroyo unfolding below, a dry wash carved by flash floods, lined with tamarisk and scattered boulders. The sun slanted westward, pulling shadows longer across the sand, mimicking the boy's description. Rex quartered the edge, then veered off trail, drawn to a cluster of boulders where the brush thickened. Eleanor followed, heart rate steady but alert. Protocol allowed this, authorized consult, but straying far meant radio check-ins every 15 minutes. One deviation, and Reed's scrutiny would tighten. Rex slowed, circling a sun-bleached rock, then sat abruptly, paw raised in his trained alert for human presence. Elena knelt, examining the spot. Faint impressions in the sand, not boot prints, but smaller, erratic, child-sized sneakers perhaps, scuffed by a scramble. "Positive hit," she said into her radio. "Arroyo east, coordinates 34, 2 north, Antix, west, human scent, fresh residual." Hale moved in, snapping photos, his face tightening. "Could be her. We pulled back at dusk yesterday. Might have missed this in the low light." He keyed his own comms. "Team converge on Arroyo east. Possible track." But Rex didn't hold the sit. He whined, nosing deeper into the brush, pulling toward a narrow crevice between boulders. Eleanor hesitated, glancing at Hale. "He's trailing continuation, off the grid. Could be animal interference." "Check it," Hale urged. "If it's viable, we need it now." Elena signaled Rex. "Trail." He pressed on, weaving through the tamarisk, the shadows deepening as the sun dipped. The air grew cooler here, the scent shifting, faint sweat and fear, layered under the dry earth. Her radio buzzed. Major Reed's voice patched through base command. "Vasquez, status, keep it contained. Rangers lead, you support." "Affirmative, sir. Alert confirmed, trailing now." She advanced, boots silent on the sand, Rex's form a dark silhouette against the fading light. The crevice narrowed, rocks pressing close, the hum of insects rising. Then Rex froze, hackles subtle but raised, alerting again, this time with a low bark reserved for imminent finds. Elena rounded the bend, flashlight in hand despite the lingering day. There, wedged in a shallow overhang, lay a small backpack, pink nylon, zipper half open, spilling a water bottle and a crumpled note. Mia's, by the embroidered name tag. No girl, but the scent was strong, recent. Hale radioed excitedly. "Found her pack. She's close. Must have climbed down for shade, maybe twisted an ankle." Relief flickered, but Elena's focus stayed on Rex. He pawed the ground nearby, unearthing disturbed sand, footprints, small and staggered, leading deeper into the arroyo where the shadows pooled like ink at sunset. The boy's words rang true, only visible now in this light, faint impressions swallowed by the dark soon. "Trail continues," she reported. "Strong human scent, distressed." Reed's response came sharp. "Hold position. Rangers take lead from here. Vasquez, extract your dog. Training schedule resumes at 1600. No further deviation." The order landed like a barrier, clear and unyielding. Hale looked to her expectant, but protocol bound her. Canine consult ended at the find, handover to civilian search. Pushing meant insubordination, career ripple, from reprimand to reassignment. Yet Rex strained forward, eyes on the footprints, his loyalty a mirror to her own divide. The sun touched the horizon, shadows merging, and in that breath, compassion whispered against duty's edge. Elena clipped Rex's lead, hands steady. "Heel, boy." But as they turned back, The Arroyo's quiet held a promise of what might be lost if orders prevailed over the trail only he could follow. Hale's team arrived, boots thudding, radios alive with coordination. She handed off the pack, saluting crisply, but inside, the test deepened. Obedience or the unseen path, with Mia's fate hanging in the balance. Back at the trailhead, the MPs waited, escorting her through the gate as dusk settled. Rex trotted beside her, head high, the day's work etched in his steady gait. The base lights flickered on, casting pools of yellow across the paths, the hum of evening routines resuming. Elena logged the consult in the ops shack, words precise, alert confirmed, handover complete. But as she latched Rex's run, his whine returned, soft against the cooling air. Major Reed appeared at the door, arms crossed. "Good work, Vasquez, but next time clearer boundaries. The chain holds for a reason." His tone was even, but his eyes searched hers, sensing the fracture. "Yes, sir," she replied, meeting his gaze. The night wind carried the desert's chill, and in the distance ranger lights bobbed along the arroyo. Duty had pulled her back, but conscience lingered, waiting for the moment it might demand more. "Comment where you're watching from. I want to know how far stories of courage and integrity can reach." The ops shack's fluorescent hum faded as Elena stepped into the night, the base's floodlights carving sharp edges across the gravel paths. Rex's run was a shadowed outline against the kennel block, his form still as she approached. She unlatched the gate, letting him out for a routine evening walk, protocol after a working day, to settle his nerves and review the bond. His paws padded softly beside her, the leash a light tether in the cooling air. The desert had surrendered its heat, replaced by a crisp bite that carried the faint scent of sage and distant rain on the wind. She replayed Reed's words in her mind, the Major's stance at the door, a reminder of the chain's unyielding structure. Boundaries defined their world. Canine handlers supported, but never led, civilian ops. The find, Mia's backpack, had been clean, handed off without incident. Rangers would follow the trail through the night, their grid searches methodical, backed by thermal gear and additional teams from county. Elena's role ended there. Logging the consult closed the loop, her report filed by 2,000 hours for morning review. Yet as they circled the perimeter, Rex's ears flicked toward the arroyo, his gait pulling subtly eastward. Elena tightened the leash. "Easy," she commanded, voice low. He complied, but his whine threaded the quiet, a sound that spoke of unfinished work. Back in the barracks, she settled him with fresh water and kibble, watching as he ate methodically, eyes never leaving the door. Her own quarters were sparse, a bunk, footlocker, photos of deployments pinned to the wall. Her with Rex in the Afghan dust, another from basic with her squad saluting at dawn. Loyalty framed them all, but tonight it chafed. Sleep came fitfully, broken by the base's nocturnal rhythm. Distant vehicle patrols, the occasional bark from other runs, the low thrum of generators. At 0400, her radio buzzed, emergency recall. Elena dressed swiftly, fatigues crisp despite the hour, and met the unit in the briefing tent. Major Reed stood at the head, a tactical map projected on the canvas wall. Red pins marking the arroyo's twists. Handlers filed in, faces drawn under the harsh light, coffee steam rising from thermoses. "Update on the Ruiz girl," Reed began, pointer tapping the map. "Rangers followed your trail last night, Vasquez. Backpack confirmed hers, phone inside, dead battery, last ping at 17:45 yesterday. They pushed 2 clicks east, but lost the track in the dark. No sign of her. Base commands looping us in deeper. Full K9 deployment at 0600. Vasquez, Rex leads the continuation. Torres, Max on secondary scent. Will grid from the overhang, support Rangers till 1200 or recovery." The tent fell silent, Nods rippling through the line. Elena's pulse steadied. Authorization at last, the chain bending without breaking, but Reed's eyes lingered on her. This is joint ops now. Rangers command the grid. We provide detection. No solo runs. Questions? None came. The unit dispersed to prep, handlers checking harnesses and vests under the pre-dawn stars. Elena geared Rex, his coat brushed smooth, the working harness buckling with familiar clicks. They loaded into the transport Humvee, engines rumbling to life as the sky lightened to grey. The drive to the trailhead bumped over rutted roads, dust clouds trailing in the headlights. Rangers waited there, Hale at the fore with the expanded team. 6 personnel, packs loaded with ropes and medkits. Flashlights bobbed as they synced watches. "Sunrise in 10, Hale said, shaking Elena's hand. "Your dog's nose got us the pack. Let's see if it gets us the girl." He briefed the grid. 2 flanks, overlapping sweeps, radio check-ins every 10 minutes. Rex took the primary scent article from the backpack, a worn sweater, its fabric holding Mia's trace. Elena presented it to him. Smell. He nosed it deeply, committing the profile, then sat alert. The team moved out at first light, the sun cresting in a blaze that turned the arroyo golden. Shadows retreated, revealing the faint footprints Elena had glimpsed at dusk, small, uneven, veering into a sidewash where tamarisk choked the banks. Rex led, quartering efficiently, his alerts precise. A scrap of fabric caught on thorns, then a water bottle cap glinting in the sand. Hale's team marked each, photos snapped, coordinates logged. The air warmed quickly, sweat beading under Elena's vest. The scent of dry earth and exertion mingling with Rex's steady pant. By 0800, they pushed a mile deeper, the terrain roughening, boulders forcing detours, the wash narrowing to a slot canyon. Rex's pace intensified, whining at a cluster of rocks where the footprints ended abruptly. Elena signaled halt, kneeling to examine. Scuff marks, as if Mia had slipped, but no clear continuation. "Scents pooling here, she reported over the radio. "Strongest yet, she's nearby." Hale directed a climb, ropes secured, team ascending a ledge for overlook. But as Elena crested with Rex, a cry echoed, faint, human from below. The group froze, radios alive. "Contact! Voice confirmed." Descending swiftly, they fanned out, Rex pulling toward a shallow cave mouth hidden by fallen scrub. Elena held him back per protocol, letting rangers clear first. Flashlights pierced the dimness, revealing Mia Ruiz, curled against the wall, dehydrated but conscious, her ankle swollen from the fall. She clutched a small flashlight, its beam weak, tears streaking her dust-caked face. "She's stable." Hale radioed base, medics moving in with IV fluids. "Hypothermia overnight but alert. Good work. Sergeant." Relief washed through Elena, tempered by discipline. She praised Rex softly. "Good boy," as he sat beside her, tail thumping the sand. The extraction was textbook, stretcher rigged, Mia secured, the team hauling her up the slope under the rising sun. At the trailhead, an ambulance waited, lights flashing silently, the boy's mother arriving in a base shuttle. Her sobs turning to gasps of thanks as Mia was loaded. Major Reed met them back at the compound, his presence at the gate, a formal close. Debrief at 1400, Vasquez, solid execution. But as the unit stood down, Private Torres clapped her shoulder. "Heard the Rangers crediting Rex heavy. That consult yesterday saved hours." Word spread through the barracks by lunch, handlers murmuring over trays, the story filtering to other units via the mess hall grapevine. By afternoon, Base Command called Elena to the admin building, a low structure of beige concrete where Colonel Ellis, Reed's superior, waited with a civilian affairs officer. The room smelled of polished wood and stale coffee, flags flanking the desk. "Sergeant Vasquez," Ellis said, gesturing to a chair. "The Ruiz family wants to express gratitude, and there's talk of a commendation, K9 assist above routine." His tone was measured, eyes appraising. "But procedure. Your initial hesitation during training." Reed noted it. "Care to explain?" Eleanor's posture straightened, hands clasped. "Sir, Rex alerted off protocol during the drill. I logged it, but held per orders." The consult followed authorization. Ellis nodded slowly, flipping through her report. "Boundaries tested, then respected. That's the mark of a handler who knows the chain." He paused, the room quiet save for the tick of a wall clock. "This ripples. Media might pick it up. Community piece on base resources. Keep it professional." As she saluted and exited, the weight lifted slightly. Outside, the sun hung high, casting no tricks now, just clear light over the training grounds. Rex waited in his run, sensing her approach. But in the admin's shadow, Eleanor felt the test evolve. Her actions, once private, now visible. Whispers in the ranks, a family's thanks, the institution's gaze. Duty had prevailed, yet conscience had carved its path, and the reckoning loomed, quiet but inevitable, in the chain's unblinking watch. The afternoon debrief in the briefing tent carried the scent of fresh coffee and canvas warmed by the sun, handlers seated on folding chairs in neat rows. Major Reed stood at the front, his pointer tracing the tactical map's final annotations, red lines converging on the cave mouth where Mia had been found. Elena sat midway back, notebook open on her knee. Rex settled at her feet under the table, his presence a quiet anchor amid the low murmur of the unit. The rescue had unfolded without flaw, Rangers extracting Mia by 0900, her vitals stabilizing en route to the base clinic. Word from Civilian Affairs confirmed. Mild dehydration, a sprained ankle, no lasting harm. The boy's mother had wept openly at the trailhead, clutching Elena's hand in thanks before the ambulance pulled away. "Operation closed clean," Reed stated, his voice even, eyes sweeping the room. Vasquez and Rex initiated the primary trail. Secondary teams confirmed no further anomalies. Logs match Ranger reports. Commendable support. Nods rippled through the handlers, Private Torres shooting Elena a quick thumbs up from across the aisle. But Reed paused, tapping the map at the initial fence alert. One note, the consult's origin during morning drill. Vasquez, your log shows Rex's off-protocol flag at 0930, handled per chain, authorized by 1100, but it disrupted the schedule by 40 minutes. Explain for the record. Elena's pen stilled, the weight of eyes turning her way. She stood, posture rigid, saluting before speaking. "Sir, Rex alerted on residual human scent at the perimeter fence during the eastern flank sweep. I reported it immediately and held position per your order to resume. The civilian disturbance prompted the log. Civilian Affairs greenlit the consult post-drill." Her words were precise, drawn from the manual's emphasis on documentation. Every alert, every deviation noted to safeguard readiness metrics. Rex shifted at her feet, nose brushing her boot, a subtle warmth against the tense draft. Reed nodded, jotting a note. "Understood. No fault in execution, but timing matters. Drills build operational tempo. Interruptions cascade." He dismissed the unit with a crisp, "Carry on." But as handlers filed out, he motioned Elena aside. The tent flap rustled in the breeze, carrying the distant clang of gear from the training grounds. "Colonel Ellis wants a full review tomorrow. Your report, Ranger statements, the family's input, media's sniffing around. Local news ran a blurb on the base hero dog this morning. Keep it tight. We're a support asset, not the story." "Yes, sir," Elena replied, her salute held steady. Inside, the fracture widened, the rescue's success a balm, yet the scrutiny a tightening noose. She led Rex back to the kennel block, the path lined with saluting MPs as afternoon rotations shifted. The concrete runs echoed with the patter of paws from other dogs, their handlers issuing evening commands in clipped tones. She hosed down Rex's harness, water sluicing over the leather in rhythmic streams. the metallic tang mixing with the earthy scent of his coat. "You did your part," she murmured, drying him with a towel, his eyes meeting hers in that wordless trust. But doubt lingered. Had her hesitation at the fence, the moment she'd held Rex back, delayed the search? Protocol had shielded her, but conscience replayed the boy's plea, the shadows swallowing the trail. By evening, the barracks hummed with subdued chatter. Handlers clustered around a communal radio tuned to the local station. Fort Harlan's K-9 unit credited with locating missing 12-year-old Mia Ruiz, the announcer intoned, voice crackling through static. Sergeant Elena Vasquez and her partner Rex followed a faint trail only visible at dusk, turning a routine training day into a life-saving mission. Torres grinned, raising a water bottle in mock toast. "Hear that? Life-saving. Reed's gonna hate the spotlight." Eleanor forced a nod, settling at her bunk with a field manual, but the words blurred. Loyalty to the unit demanded discretion. No embellishing tales, no seeking credit. Yet the story spread, rippling beyond the wire. A base email circulated the next morning, commending the 101st K-9 for community support, with Eleanor's name flagged for higher review. At 0800, she reported to the admin building, the corridor's polished floors reflecting her boots like a mirror to her resolve. Colonel Ellis waited in his office, a broad desk stacked with folders, the American flag casting a shadow across the wall. Major Reed flanked him, arms crossed, while a civilian affairs officer, Captain Lyle, sharp in her dress blues, took notes. "Sit, Sergeant," Ellis directed, gesturing to the chair. The room smelled of ink and oiled wood, the tick of an antique clock underscoring the formality. "The Ruiz family visited the clinic yesterday. Mia's recovering, discharged this morning with a brace. They requested to meet you." He slid a folder across. "Incident reports, ranger logs, a printed news clip. Your actions aligned with regs, but the initial drill interruption raises questions. Reed reports a visible hesitation. Care to clarify?" Eleanor's hands clasped in her lap, fingers steady despite the pulse in her throat. "Sir, the civilian approached during active training. Rex alerted independently. I contained him per protocol to avoid disruption. The consult followed direct authorization." She met Ellis's gaze, the weight of the chain pressing, duty's shield, but compassion's echo in every word. Lyle interjected softly. "The family describes it as instinct over orders. Media's framing it that way. Hero handler defies routine for a child's life." Reed shifted, jaw tightening. "It's not defiance, Captain. It's calibrated response. Vasquez knows the boundaries." Ellis leaned back, steepling his fingers. "Precisely. But perception matters. This could go public. Interviews, commendations. The institution learns from such cases. When K-9 alerts intersect civilian needs, we adapt without fracturing the chain." He paused, eyes appraising. "You'll brief the family today, then a joint press statement tomorrow. Keep it factual. Teamwork, not solo glory." The meeting adjourned with salutes, Elena exiting into the sun-drenched quad where handlers drilled in formation, commands echoing like rifle cracks. Rex waited outside, leashed to a post, his tail thumping as she approached. The Ruiz family arrived at noon in a base shuttle. The mother, Mrs. Ruiz, stepping out with Mia on crutches, the boy trailing behind, eyes wide. They gathered in a quiet courtyard, benches under mesquite trees, the wind rustling leaves overhead. "Thank you," Mrs. Ruiz said, voice thick, enveloping Elena in a brief hug. Unprotocol, but human. Mia extended a small hand, bracelet jingling. "Rex found my backpack. I was scared in the dark, but I heard him barking." The boy hung back, then stepped forward, petting Rex tentatively. "You followed the sunset footprints like magic." Elena knelt to Rex's level, guiding the boy's hand. "Not magic. Training and trust. He smelled what we couldn't see. The exchange was brief, emotions restrained, tears wiped quickly, thanks voiced in measured tones. But as they departed, Mrs. Ruiz pressed a photo into Elena's palm. The family at the trailhead, Mia safe, Rex in frame. "For your legacy," she whispered. Back in quarters, Elena pinned it beside her deployments. The image a quiet ripple. Whispers in the ranks grew. Handlers nodding respect in the mess. A junior private asking for scent tips. Yet scrutiny shadowed it. Reed's sidelong glances during evening evals. A memo on protocol in public eyes. By dusk, as the sun dipped low, casting those familiar shadows over the arroyo visible from the perimeter, Elena walked Rex on a routine patrol. His nose worked the air, alert as ever, but she felt the shift. Her defiance, not overt, but in that initial pull toward the fence, had sparked something larger. The chain held, but conscience had etched a path, inviting reform in the institution's quiet corners. Tomorrow's press would test it further, words chosen carefully amid the watching eyes, the legacy of one dog's trail reshaping the bounds of duty. The morning sun filtered through the admin building's blinds, casting slatted shadows across the conference room table where Elena sat flanked by Major Reed and Captain Lyle. The air held the faint polish of waxed floors and the sharper edge of fresh-brewed coffee from a sideboard urn. Outside, the bass stirred with its unyielding cadence, boots thudding on parade grounds, the distant whine of a K9 certification drill echoing off the barracks walls. Colonel Ellis entered last, his uniform impeccable, folder tucked under his arm, signaling the start of the joint press statement. "Keep it procedural," Ellis instructed as they reviewed the script, his voice low and measured. "Facts. K9 unit supported ranger search per authorization. No embellishments." Elena nodded, her hands folded on the table, the weight of the room's formality pressing like a harness strap. The rescue's narrative had snowballed overnight. Local news vans parked at the gate. Reporters cleared for a supervised briefing in the media annex. Whispers in the ranks painted her as the fence line handler, a title born of admiration and envy, rippling through mess hall conversations and email chains. They moved as a unit to the annex, a squat building near the visitor center with reinforced windows and a podium etched with the base seal. Reporters, 5 in total, notebooks and mics at the ready, filled the front rows, their flashes testing against the dim lighting. Elena took her place to the side, Rex at heel beside her, his harness gleaming under the fluorescence. The dog's presence was deliberate, a visual anchor, his steady gaze cutting through the room's tension. Hale from the Rangers stood nearby, nodding solidarity, while Mrs. Ruiz and Mia waited in an adjoining room, prepped for a brief family statement. Ellis stepped to the podium, clearing his throat into the mic with a soft feedback hum. "Good morning. Fort Harlan appreciates the community's interest in this matter. At 1700 hours yesterday, 12-year-old Mia Ruiz went missing on a recreational trail adjacent to base property. Following standard protocol, civilian affairs coordinated with local rangers. The 101st Military Working Dog Unit provided authorized scent detection support, leading to her safe recovery at 8:30 today." Questions fired immediately, voices overlapping in a controlled chaos. "Colonel, was the dog's alert during training? What started this?" A reporter pressed, camera lens trained on Rex. Ellis deflected smoothly. All actions followed chain of command. Sergeant Vasquez and her partner executed a consult as directed. The focus shifted to Elena. Lyle nudged her forward, script in hand. She approached the podium, saluting crisply before speaking, her voice level over the room's murmur. "Rex is trained for human scent detection. He alerted on residual traces during a routine drill, which was logged and escalated per protocol. Rangers led the search. We supported with precision." Rex sat unmoving at her side, ears pricked at the unfamiliar sounds, his warmth a grounding force against her leg. Flashes popped, capturing the moment, the handler's disciplined stance, the dog's unblinking focus. A follow-up came from the back. "The family says the boy pleaded at the fence during your training. Did that influence the decision to assist?" Elena paused, the question probing the fracture she'd guarded. Reed's eyes met hers from the wing, a silent cue to adhere. "Civilian inquiries are handled through proper channels," she replied evenly. "Our unit responds when authorized. The outcome speaks to teamwork across agencies." Mrs. Ruiz entered next, Mia on crutches beside her, the boy clutching her free hand. The room softened, mics thrusting forward as the mother spoke through tears held in check. "We came to the base desperate. Sergeant Vasquez and Rex didn't hesitate once cleared. They followed a trail we couldn't see. Mia's safe because of that loyalty." Mia added quietly, "The dog knew the shadows hid me." The boy looked up at Elena, his earlier sobs now a shy smile, petting Rex's head as cameras whirred. The briefing wrapped at 1,000 hours, reporters ushered out under MP escort, their stories destined for evening broadcasts. Back in the conference room, Ellis debriefed. "Handled well, but this visibility tests the institution. Vasquez, expect commendation paperwork, unit citation, perhaps individual. Reed, integrate this into training modules. Civilian intersect protocols." Reed assented, but his nod to Elena carried an undercurrent, approval laced with caution. The chain adapts, but it doesn't bend without consequence. Word cascaded through the base by midday, handlers gathering in the kennel block where the air smelled of damp fur and harness oil. Private Torres leaned against a run gate, replaying the news clip on his phone. Saw it, hero dog and handler. "You're trending in the mess, Sarge." Others chimed in, voices respectful. A junior handler asking about Rex's sunset alerts. Another sharing a ranger's email, praising the grid efficiency. Elena busied herself with post-brief logs, pen scratching across forms, but the shift registered, their routine, once insular, now illuminated. Afternoon brought the formal review in Ellis's office, the room's flags stirring faintly in the AC draft. Folders splayed open, media transcripts, incident timelines, even a psych eval note on handler dog bonds under scrutiny. "Your hesitation at the fence," Ellis said directly, eyes on Elena. "Reed's report flags it as a potential protocol lapse, but the outcome? Exemplary. It highlights a gap. When K9 instincts flag civilian risks during drills, we need faster escalation lanes." Reed interjected, "Agreed, sir. Propose a standing order. Immediate civilian affairs patch for perimeter alerts. Prevents disruptions while honoring the chain." Elena listened. The proposal a quiet reform born of her test. Duty refined by conscience, the institution yielding without fracture. Ellis approved it on the spot, directing Lyle to draft. "Effective immediately. Vasquez, you'll co-lead the module revision." And as the meeting closed, salutes exchanged, Elena felt the ripples solidify. Outside, the sun arced toward evening, shadows lengthening over the training grounds in patterns only Rex might pass. She walked him to the perimeter, paws sinking with her steps on the gravel path, the wind carrying the hum of helicopters on approach. The boy's plea had pierced the routine. Her choice to hold, then act, had forged a legacy, not of defiance, but of measured courage. In the ranks, it would echo, loyalty as a bridge between orders and the human unseen, reshaping the chain one alert at a time. Back at the barracks, as lights dimmed for evening stand-down, a base-wide memo circulated, commendation for the 101st K9, with Elena's name leading the honors. Handlers murmured approval over dinner trays, the story embedding in unit lore. Yet in the quiet of her quarters, pinning the draft citation beside the Ruiz photo, Elena scratched Rex's ears, his contented sigh the only response. The public gaze had reckoned her actions, but redemption lay in the reform, the system's quiet evolution, where a single trail at sunset proved conscience could guide without breaking stride. If this story already has your respect, hit the like button. It helps the story of Elena Vasquez reach those who still believe in honor. The weeks following the press briefing settled into a new rhythm at Fort Harlan. The desert wind, carrying whispers of change through the base's corridors. Elena Vasquez moved through her days with the same measured precision, morning formations at dawn, where the chill air bit at exposed skin and boots aligned in flawless rows, but the undercurrent had shifted. Handlers in the 101st K9 unit nodded with a deference that went beyond rank, their eyes lingering on Rex as he trotted at her heel, his black and tan coat catching the first light. The commendation had come through officially, a unit citation pinned during a quiet ceremony in the quad, the flag snapping overhead as Colonel Ellis read the citation aloud. For exemplary support in civilian recovery, upholding the chain while extending the hand of service. Elena stood at attention, Rex sitting alert beside her, his ears perked at the commander's baritone. Private Torres approached her after, in the shadow of the kennel block where the scent of fresh hay and oiled leashes hung heavy. "Sarge, that module revision. Heard you're leading the drills on it. Civi intersect protocols. Smart move." His Labrador, Max, sniffed at Rex's flank in greeting, tails brushing in silent accord. Elena nodded, clipping Rex's harness for the afternoon eval. "It's incremental. Faster patches for alerts at the perimeter. Keeps the schedule intact without ignoring the signs." The reform, born from her logged hesitation at the fence, had formalized into policy. A standing order for immediate civilian affairs liaison during training disruptions. No more 40-minute delays. K9 instincts now bridge the gap between routine and necessity. A quiet evolution etched into the ops manual. Major Reed oversaw the first implementation during a mid-morning sweep, the sun climbing to bake the mock village's plywood walls. Handlers formed up, radios crackling with test scenarios. Simulated civilian breach, scent trails laced with urgency. "Vasquez, you demo the patch," Reed directed, his clipboard steady. Elena signaled Rex forward. "Search!" And he quartered the eastern flank, pausing at the fence line where the boy's plea had first pierced the air. This time, she keyed her mic without pause. "Perimeter alert. Human scent residual. Patching civilian affairs." The response came swift, a drill voice confirming escalation. Observers noted it, junior handlers scribbling furiously. The chain's efficiency sharpened like a blade honed by trial. Word of the change rippled outward beyond the wire. Local rangers, including Hale, visited for a joint exercise 2 weeks later, their SUV kicking up dust as it pulled into the compound. The air hummed with helicopter rotors warming on the tarmac, a reminder of the base's broader pulse. In the briefing tent, Hale shook Elena's hand firmly. "Your protocol's already paying off. We ran a hiker mock last week, cut response time in half. Mia's story got us funding for more cross-training." Mrs. Ruiz had sent a letter through Civilian Affairs, her script neat on base stationery, gratitude for the module, a donation to the K9 fund from the family's relief efforts. Mia, brace discarded, had included a drawing, Rex following sunset shadows to a safe cave, crayons bold against the page. Elena pinned it in the ops shack. Beside the commendation and the family photo, a mosaic of legacy taking shape. The public reckoning lingered in subtler ways. Evening news segments replayed the briefing clip. Elena's measured words, teamwork across agencies, framed as a model for military-civic bonds. Reporters sought follow-ups, but Ellis kept them at bay, channeling inquiries to structured releases. In the barracks, the story fostered mentorship. Elena paired with a new handler, Specialist Grant, during evening runs. His German shepherd Luna was green, prone to over-alerts in the heat. "Watch Rex. Elena instructed as they circled the perimeter under stars pricking the black sky. He holds the sit till confirmed. Trust builds the bond, same as the chain. Grant nodded, sweat beading on his brow, the gravel crunching under their steps. Rex led steadily, nose working the wind, a living testament to restraint amid instinct. One dusk patrol marked the transformation fully. The sun dipped low, painting the arroyo in amber strokes, shadows stretching like the footprints Rex had trailed. Elena walked Rex unleashed for the first time post-reform, a controlled test of their sync. He ranged ahead, then circled back, eyes meeting hers in the fading light. The boy, Mia's brother, waited at the visitor gate, cleared for a supervised visit by his mother. Now 9. His face had lost its tear-streaked rawness, replaced by wide-eyed awe. "Can I see him follow again?" he asked, voice tentative but clear. Eleanor knelt, guiding the boy's hand to Rex's head. "He follows what he knows. Show him this." The child extended a small cloth from Mia's old backpack, the scent faint but familiar. Rex nosed it, committing, then sat alert toward the horizon. No trail to chase now, just the demonstration, the desert quiet save for the wind through creosote. Mrs. Ruiz watched from the shuttle, Mia waving from the window. "You've given us more than safety," she said softly. "A story that teaches." As they departed, Reed observed from the gate, his silhouette sharp against the lights. "It's working, Vasquez. The unit's stronger for it. Your example sets the tone." No reprimand lingered, instead a nod of institutional growth, the chain reinforced by her moral anchor. Elena saluted, Rex at heel, the patrol resuming into the twilight. The base's hum enveloped them, radio chatter fading, boots echoing on concrete, the world of ranks and routines now laced with conscience's quiet reform. In the months that followed, Elena became a symbol etched into training lore. The handler who bridged duty and compassion, her integrity a ripple that steadied the system against unseen fractures. Rex's alerts, once solitary, now echoed through protocols that honored both loyalty and legacy, proving that in the rigid lines of command, a single path at sunset could light the way for all. Subscribe for more stories of loyalty, courage, and justice within the ranks. Thank you for watching the case of My Sister Didn't Come Back. The boy sobbed, the dog followed. Footprints only seen at sunset. See you in the next one.